Okay, so California is suffering from large amounts of air pollution that are generated by the activities of 33 million people. Terrain or topography traps pollution, and a warm sun climate helps from ozone and other air pollutants, as stated on knowthezone.com. These three things are creating a thick layer of cloud over our heads, and only we can help stop it by the use of alternate fuels. Alternate fuels, known as non-conventional or advanced fuels, are any material and substances that can be used as fuels, other than the conventional fuels such as gasoline or petroleum. Today, I would like to describe the types of benefits of these fuels and hopefully introduce a new way to help our environment. There are dozens on the line today, and mostly used by private fleets, but are also increasing among consumers. A few of the most common alternative fuels today are biodiesel, which is a renewable fuel that can be manufactured from vegetable oil, animal fats, or recycled cooking grease for diesel vehicles. Electricity, which can be used to power plug-in electric vehicles and have become increasingly available among consumers. And with the help of hybrid vehicles, which also use electricity to boost efficiency, we have ethanol, or E85, as we see it, is a widely used renewable fuel made from corn and other plant materials, and is blended with gasoline for use in normal vehicles. Natural gas, which is a domestically abundant gaseous fuel that can have significant fuel cost advantages over gasoline and diesel fuel, as stated on the U.S. Department of Energy. These fuels are not just helping the earth, they are also helping your wallet. The prices of alternate fuels as of January 1st, 2016 are biodiesel as $2.41 per gallon, electricity as 13 cents per kilowatt hours, E85 as $1.80 per gallon, natural gas as $2.09 per gasoline gallon equivalent, as stated on fueleconomy.gov. Also, not only will you be saving money at the pump, but also while driving, as these vehicles go a lot further while using less. For example, the number one rated best miles per gallon car of 2016 was voted as the 2015 BMW i3. You guys know what that is? It's like a white, black, and blue BMW like van kind of thing, and it's like not appealing to the eye. And it has a 0-cylinder single direct drive engine, averaging about 137 miles per gallon city and 111 miles per gallon on the highway. And it takes about 18 hours to charge on the standard 110 volt household plug. There are now 23,300 charging stations around the United States with a 220 volt plug, which can charge the vehicle within 3 hours and is free with an access card when purchasing the vehicle, as stated by BMW. These cars and hybrid electric vehicles save the planet, but they are also protecting your health from all harmful fumes such as nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide, and hydrocarbons, which is what smog tests help stop. These three chemicals are what we are inhaling every day and are known carcinogens that create irritation of the eyes, nose and throat, vomiting, lightheadedness, headache, heartburn, numbness, tightness in the chest, and wheezing. And these are just the short-term effects. So not only is having these hybrid vehicles or cars that run on alternative fuels for helping our own health, but the health of our planet while making clean a better place for us for many more generations. Thank you.
So, Cassandra, what did you think?
I thought that your point was pretty clear, like what you were trying to talk about in the speech. I liked how you cited your sources for most of the things, and how you explained like what some things were that, you know, maybe not a lot of people would know. You could have looked up more and looked around the room more and not read so much, but it was pretty.
All right. Yeah, no, there's a, you say that like there's something bad. There's a lot of good stuff in the speech. I like the idea that you have a very specific purpose, that you're talking about what the benefits of these alternative fuels are. I think that you do a nice job listing what all the different kinds of fuels are. I do think you want to spend a little bit of time maybe convincing us, you know, how we could access these sorts of things. So, for example, the electric cars that you talk about, and I assume that that's what that BMW is at the end also. So, one of the questions that pops into my mind, because we're talking about resistance to persuasion, well, how much does that cost? You're talking about a BMW, for instance, and I know that's probably not going to be accessible for a lot of people in this room. You know, it's a little bit, you know, BMWs are not cheap cars, and an electric one's probably going to be more expensive, and you described it like it's ugly. And by the way, I've found that the uglier cars are, sometimes the more people pay for them. So I worry a little bit about that kind of thing. You know, if you're trying to motivate this audience, they're going to go, well, that's probably out of my reach. But for instance, can you use biodiesel in obviously you can't use it in a non-diesel car, but can regular diesel vehicles use those? When you talk about ethanol 85, what are the cars that are able to utilize that kind of stuff, and how easy is it to get to that? When you talked about the electricity thing, for instance, you did a pretty good job saying, hey, there are 23,000 stations around where people can charge for free. You get an access card when you do that. So you kind of create a little bit more description of how people could address those things if they chose to go that direction. And I'm going, but you've got 3 or 4 other ways that you've talked about doing this where you're not doing the same kind of thing. And I'm just wondering, so, because some of these might be more practical for people in here than the electric car. For example, like the biodiesel or the E85. I'm going, well, do we have vehicles that, I mean, can I use that in my car, for instance, the E85? I know that there are a lot of cars that nowadays, I think most new cars have what they call flexible fuel, so you can use those kinds of things. But I don't know if all cars have them, if it's only some cars that have them, if they're more expensive. And again, remember, think about your audience here. This is a group of folks that are probably not going to be buying a brand new car as a way of addressing that issue, but maybe there's some things that they could be doing too. So it just feels like it's a generalized topic, and I like the subjects that you have in it, but it needs to be focused a little bit more on the audience that you've got here. I'm sure that you know what I'm going to say about your delivery issues, because I've said them before. There's a lot of reading, and you got to get past that, and you got to put in a little bit more energy. You know, it's you know, maybe this is not your thing, but come on, these are just people here, and if you were talking to people about anything outside of the classroom environment, you got to have a little bit of more investment in it, you know, that kind of thing, and I think you can do that. It's just it's not coming across the way it should at this particular point. Like I said, I like the setup. I like the purpose statement. I think you could use a little bit more of an organizational preview, but you did a good job citing some sources in the presentation. I like the ideas that you had here. I think you need to relate them a little bit more to the audience. And I think you could build your argument about all the harms from those different kinds of fuels a little bit more, although you might very well point at Jenny's speech and say, and by the way, we already know all the bad stuff that comes from air pollution here, so I shouldn't have to tell you those kinds of things. And that would be one of those things that's just a simple adaptation of, you know, the context here. That's another one of those things that happens when you are speaking. You kind of think about the audience, think about the context and the situation that you're in, and then you can get away with stuff like that. All right, thank you.